Hotel brothers and sisters. I'd like to welcome you on behalf of my partners, Bruce and Terry and myself, for y'all coming out here to see Dr. Ben tonight and for him to share a few words. I'd like to say this one thing about Dr. Ben. A lot of the way I think about things actually comes from Dr. Ben from the trips to Egypt with him and seeing the stuff myself. And by me and him going back and forth in little debates, back and forth, he has shaped a lot of my thinking and stuff like that, how I think about things and how I ask people for different, when you ask for proof for something that they're saying that you can actually point to, rather than some mystery that you can't point to. A lot of that comes from Dr. Ben because things that I would say to him, he would ask for the proof. Then that made me had to go back and read and stuff like that. Absence of the proof, it fell by itself. You understand? So I'd like to present to y'all Dr. Ben, and I'd like y'all to give him a warm round of applause. Anybody in this world, I'm talking about black people, and he's been doing it for a long, long time. This brother here was the one that yelled in the wilderness for years for us to look towards Egypt and what it is that revealed, and that was an African civilization. He has written many books on the subject in dealing with that. So this brother right here is responsible for a lot of stuff, and I think we need to give him a warm round of applause for the contribution.
Speaking, because like all old people, you lose your speech somehow or the other. I'm going to do the best I can, however. Another thing that you will notice that I have lost some of my memory also. To make it easy that you can understand, I am 84 years young, so that should give you. I must make an apology for my next half. You know, you have the man, you have to have the woman. And as you know, that my wife don't come behind me, don't stand behind me. She is next to me. And I must say, this year we made our 50 years and 6 months since we are married. So with that, she would have been here tonight, but she's going to the Virgin Islands tomorrow at 11 o'clock, so she's home packing. When I get home, I can get a little nap and then take her to the airport. So I ask pardon that she is not able to be here. Well, I'm supposed to discuss with you the early Egyptian beginnings, its growth, and our involvement in it, and our lack of good order, our movement forward. You have to decide which position you are at. Today, for example, last 3 days, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, I was in Canada, and I came back this afternoon just at 5 o'clock to be here at at this time, so that had difficulty in Canada, but I understand why. And the difficulty is similar to the difficulty here, but that was much worse up there. To speak of Egypt, and I'm going to say Tamari, I make this clear. In the Mennonite writing, there is one reference to the land we're talking about, and it's at Kemet. If you want to pronounce it, that's your own business. But all there is about the land is KMT. Nobody I know, and with all of them who say they're speaking Mennonite, they're talking nonsense. Nobody knows to speak Mennonite because it's written in constant. Anytime you see, like Kemet, you got vowels, and the ancients didn't write with vowels. It's the English put vowels for themselves to make it legible for those to speak about it. So I don't try to invent, so that you will hear some people say, I don't speak Mennonite, or I don't know Mennonite. That's all right. I prefer not to do it than to lie about it. And most people lie about it. So when you use the word Kemet, you're a liar. Your mother's a liar. Your family's a liar. You're just saying that to say something without any justification. And that's what I said. When you have to have a historical foundation for speaking about Africa, not dreams, not talking to the gods. By the way, if you talk to the gods, you must talk to the goddess. Because the god was Ra, and the goddess was Nut. There were the two first gods of ancient Egypt. So when you need to speak about Egypt, if you're taking it from the earliest position, would be a religious position. Not religious as you say religion today, because in ancient Egypt, they did not mix the men with the women in religious ceremony. The women had their own thing, but there were times, for instance, like occasion of birth, like when Aset gave birth to Heru for Asar. That's like your Mary, Jesus, and Joseph. But they didn't play around with the virgin birth. Their virgin birth was a man having relations with the other. They saw in Abydos. That's the furthest point west. So when you go to Egypt and you're in Luxor, it takes you 3 hours by bus to go from Luxor to Abydos. That's where Asaru is allegedly buried. Here, where he was allegedly born. I say allegedly because it's belief. They themselves had a belief system, and I want you to make it clear. No man could show you where God lived, where God is, and where God been. And which God you're talking about? Uncle? Ingai? I know you're quite familiar with those gods. I could talk about 30 different gods in Africa. I'm using the word that the Greeks gave us. All right. So that any time you tell me what, you're not being religious, I ask you why. And who knows what it is to be religious? Now you said that religion is negative, so you're going to use this thing that they call it. It amounts to religion, but you say, what do you call religion?
Spirituality?
Spiritual. Thank you very much. You see, my mind will say what to say. When you say spiritual, you're lying. If you just feel as religious as you want to, and you use another way to escape, instead of saying a thing is a thing. For instance, you say you believe in a goddess, but you never call on the goddess. You always call on God. And women surprises me. You see a pregnant woman, she's giving birth to a baby. She said, oh God help me. Oh God. He don't help you. Put it in there. You don't say, oh goddess. And the goddess knows your problem because the goddess also gets pregnant. And she don't get it by a virgin birth. Because Heru had his son, Heru, with his wife, Aset or As. You see that in the wall in Abydos. Not on brick. There were no brick yet. So when we start with housing, the first housing made by the ancient Egyptian that is still there was the step pyramid at Saqqara. Now, Saqqara was not the first place in ancient Egypt. The first place was Nefer, which you call Memphis. Memphis, Tennessee is named for Nefer. And not spelled M-E-N as most of you spell because there is no vowel. Nefer was M-N, not no other word letter in there. And Nefer was N-F-R, no E's. E is a vowel. And the Egyptian language is written in consonant only. So there weren't none. The British, when they came as conquerors over that land, they put the vowels, all kind of vowels, in different words to make sounds. So when you hear people talking nonsense, that they're reading Middle Nature, they're lying to themselves. They like to lie. So we can move a step further. That became the first construction, and it was built of the rocks. The ancient people cut rocks. They planned the building, and they cut the rocks to suit the shape of the building. Just for instance, if the building have a 32 degree, and that was a common angle, they would cut certain stone to fit on 32 degrees. They didn't just put it and put mortar. There was no mortar. They did not. It was for years and years and years before mortar was made by the people of Rome. They were the first to present mortar, and they came not long after the Greeks, and so that gives you an idea. They weren't in the picture at all at the time when the Egyptians were acting. And let me make it clear. When I said the Egyptians were black, I mean black. Because they had no family that was nothing else but black. So that when you saw people in the room, you saw black people. So if you're not black, if you had a father from Asia who wasn't black, from Europe who wasn't black, and you look yellow, you look anything like that of me, you're not black. So that's why you hear black studies, this, black. You're lying. How are you going to be black without kind of European and the background? Huh? We, as a people, cannot speak about being black. Let me explain. Just today, I told someone that he cannot speak. He was speaking and saying, and he's from Jamaica, and he was saying that we all look alike. It isn't true. We have all had Europeans so much in our family, and we try as much to imitate the Europeans as much as we can. In here right now, you got more bald head than anything else. You bought more hair to add with your natural hair to look long. You're afraid and ashamed of being black. We don't want to admit it, but none of you are going to wash your hair because you can't live here. You look too black if you wash your hair. But being men now too. Men are walking around with the same pieces of hair. We look like a faggot, look like a stranger. And I got to talk to you with honesty. It may hurt you, but that's what I intended to do. Hurt you. I don't pretend. So when we go from the step pyramid, the most important pyramid that tell us anything about Egypt was the finished pyramid of Unas. And that's on the opposite side of where the pyramid designed by Imhotep for the Pharaoh Zusa is. Right up the wall, you go and you look down and you see the smallest pyramid in the whole world. That pyramid has the first writings that speak about the ancient gods and goddesses, the deities. But the ancient people understand when they speak of the gods and goddesses, they spoke of gods being themselves and goddess being themselves. Because man in that time reached a height in society which is called the gods. A person rose to the rank of a god, who rose to the rank of a goddess. So that they won't jiving when they say such a person is God. For instance, Ramesses II was a human being, but he's at Saqqara in one of the tombs as one of the gods. Rakti is a god there, and Ra is a god, and Rakti, and Ramesses. There are 4 gods shown, and one we know was a living person, Ramesses II. But besides this thing, we have to understand, and we must understand, because if we want to be truthful to ourselves, it's going to be difficult to take away our own personality and deal with the things as stated. And we don't have to pretend like long ago. Yes, it's in a book. And you must get the facts from a book. You can't get it from my head. I must get it from a book and tell you. If I tell you something and I can't show you in a book or refer what book you must go to, I'm a liar. And you got nothing but liars around. You could dress all you want, put on different clothes. By the way, this is African clothes, this is from Egypt. Because only certain styles you understand as African. Most of you take things from West Africa. You don't take things from North Africa. I don't see any design of anything away from North Africa. You may take some things from Egypt, and lately you take things from Kenya. But don't, as a rule, take nothing from the Nile Valley. That's from Ethiopia, and that is Aksum. Aksum is the proper name for Ethiopia. Ethiopia is a Greek word, meaning black-faced people. People are black-faced. Abyssinia is a disgusting term. The Arabs use that term to the people of Aksum. So that is not used. Ethiopia, Aksum. And then you have the Cushite. That comes from the Bible. The Hebraic nonsense. It was in 18th dynasty when they first speak of Abraham and Adam and Eve and all that nonsense. The Africans of Egypt were already in the 18th dynasty when the Hebrews, Haribo or Haribo as they call in history, arrived there with the Hyksos. The Hyksos were a group of people like most of us here. The museum got their pictures and everything. You see the Hyksos with the hair, kinky hair and whatnot. So that we have no doubt who they are. But what it is, again, I go back. We have to go to Manetho, and back as far as Manetho and before to find ancient history with respect to Egypt. There is no history book on Egypt older written man to man and before Manetho. I didn't say religious book. Any book dealing with man and women, two other men and women that's not religious, Manetho wrote the first one of those books. That time I'm speaking, there is no Greece yet. There is no Rome yet. Those people must have been living, I don't know, and don't care. But there's no history of them, any place. Athens weren't built because Sistrus the is going to be the one that built Athens. And we must understand, I'm speaking in terms, how do I know this? Can I dream this? No. Can I just like to it because it sounds good? No. Do I know anybody for telling me any history of Egypt short of a book? No. Because I don't want to hear no damn nonsense about a person telling me what the angels said this and that said this. That's nonsense. Our history were written. Our history that means anything. I'm not saying that because it was written, it has to be right. But at least we got the reference of the person who wrote the thing, and we can check it what he said. And it's better than talking about God said this and God said that. God didn't say a damn thing in his life. You said it. So when you talk about the Bible, it's written by holy men. Who make them holy? See? Who make them holy? The King James, for instance, he got an argument with the Pope. And at that time, the biblical book used to come from Switzerland to England, written in English. They weren't written in English in England. They came from Switzerland. And James then said he wanted a book of his own, not what the Pope thinks about. And they commissioned 47 men in England, Scotland, and different places like that. And they wrote different aspects of the Bible to suit James. James was satisfied with a certain amount of it by 1621. And that book we call the King James Bible. James was a murderer. He killed his 2 wives and then killed his mother for disagreeing with his action. You can read that. You don't have to listen to my word. You can read it. You need to take a book like the Moors in Spain. You need to take Manetto's work. You take various writers, H. Sylvester Williams, that's a late one. But you take those ancient books. A man from Africa wrote a very good book he wrote in the 17th century. It's something of North Africa. He was Agri from Guinea. He wrote of that period of time. So what I want to bring in, how do we get information about the past? You got books of a nature in Medu Nature. There is 9 forms of Medu Nature. Medu Nature is written in 9 different ways. And one of those forms, at least, you should make yourself familiar with the rudiments of the language so that you could use it. There is no way that you can take any book, however, and read through. That's why when people go to Egypt and looking for Melanesian, you cannot read everything and in the palaces, because you start to read and find here the thing change. Then you read a little more formula, it's over there, it's changed. Because the writers purposely put things there because they were information they want you to know and information they want to keep secret. We have the greatest thing that one of the greatest things the ancients devised was the pyramid at Giza. Giza is written G-H-I-Z-A. Now they have G-E-H-I-E-Z-A or G-I-Z-A. The G-I-Z-A is the Arab writing. And they came to Egypt in 470. And Islam started in 670. Islam started in 622 of the Christian era, which you know the difference between the Hebrew and the Christians and the Muslims, the difference in calendar. We must make sure that we understand the different dates, because people, things are written to suit the writers, who for the most part was biased because they wrote strictly from their position, and they didn't take into account anything, because writers, for instance, today, most writers write about ancient Egypt and Libya, or what you call Morocco. That was the Morocco was a French name, Arab name and a French name. The fighters who would take Spain in 711. They take Spain, and an African, Gibraltar was the name of the African. They used to call him Smart John. And Gibraltar had carried into Spain much of the writings that he had learned from his mother. His mother was the one who was in charge of the country. There isn't much said about her by men, because stupid men who just hate women and can't speak right about them, ignore them, or tell willful lies about them rather than tell the truth. And that's got to stop. Women, no doubt, I know this very well, different to men. I am happy about that. But that is no reason not to give them their due. Because in ancient Egypt, when Egypt was two places, northern and southern Egypt, were two different countries. Until the first dynasty, that's when Narmer of the south, if you call it Narmer, N-A-R-M-E-R, that's since the British get into things, you got an E. But Mena or Aha, you could write A-H-A or M-N-A or M-E-N. The E-R was, you know what the British. You got when Mena fought Scorpion, the animal, the fight, the people were asking for a united Egypt and encouraged the fighters until that one day these men met to decide unifying Egypt. And thus Mena and Scorpion met at Memnefa. Memnefa, you could translate it to mean the White House. It was a building, and the literary translation would be White House. They met there and fought, and Mena killed Scorpion. Now, right there, we speak about Egypt or any place as if we didn't commit wrong. We commit murder. We stole. There is a sign in every one of the palaces and everything talking about stealing. We were stealing before us come. We are. You see, people got a mythical idea of the people. They want to steal in ancient Egypt. Who the hell did it? There were no Europeans there, so somebody was stealing, so it had to be yours truly. We have to deal with things. Remember, the Egyptians were people like others. That's why you got a set of laws. 42 laws. Number 27, I remember it, I addressed it. I said, Goddess Ma'at, I have not committed sodomy. And you sodomy, that means a man going with a man. And there's only one place a man could go with a man, and that's his rectum. And to justify that, you're telling me that a man is going with a man. He's going to put his penis in a man's anus, his filth. I don't know which other way to explain this but by those words. I don't use dirty words. I use words that explain the thing, however.